Lorraine, if you please pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Jason, would you lead the prayer?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and in the city of Monte Vista.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, roll call.
Counselor Howard,
Here.
Counselor Lorenz,
Here.
Counselor Watson,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Here.
and Mayor Becker is absent this evening, but a quorum has been declared. And Mayor Pro Tem Segola will be our acting chair.
Modifications to the agenda,
No, sir.
the approval of consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Nita?
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz,
Yes.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
All right. Proclamations, communications, and appointments. Appointment of Barbara Sears and Rithana Seeger to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So it's a reappointment. They've been on there for a really long time. But they are happy to continue their service. We're in the middle of the land use rewrite. They want to see that project through the completion. And they want to continue to serve and continue to make the city into what it wants to be over the long term. So they're asking to be reappointed for another 2 years. Which is what the appointment is for in planning and zoning. So they've both expressed interest, and pending any questions from you guys, that is.
That's already been appointed.
Make a motion to appoint Barbara Sears and Rithana Seeger to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions? Nita?
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz.
Yes.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries to appoint Barbara Sears and Rithana Seeger to the Planning and Zoning Commission for another 2 years.
Thank you for their service. Should you tell them that?
I will.
Thank you. Appointment of the following to the Board of Adjustment. We have Sheena Roberts, Ken Van Warden, Justin Pepper, and James Pacheco.
So as you guys know, we've been working on the Board of Adjustment for an extended period of time. We disbanded the one that we had. We rewrote the portions inside the municipal code to better support and better protect the city for the Board of Adjustment. And Mr. Shove is on it already. Justin Pepper will serve as the voting member from the Planning and Zoning Commission. And the others are dispersed between realtors, former building inspectors, business owners and contractors. So we have a very diverse group, which I think this is probably going to be one of our most diverse groups. It has everything from minorities to business owners to like people who sit down and actually look at the buildings and make sure that they're built the right way. So I'm excited about the way that we have this board built. All of them were more than happy to come on board. We didn't have to beg, so that was nice. So just ask for your guys to appoint them for, is it 2 years?
Like 2-year terms, and I think their terms are staggered too, as I recall.
They'll have to be staggered, but we'll probably do, if you guys will appoint them for 2 years, we'll probably talk to them at the end of this first year. And we'll see which one of them want to be reappointed again for an additional 2 years. That way we can stagger them out, because this will be a brand new composition of the board. So for 2 years for this cycle, and then we'll go ahead and do it again in a year to stagger them back out.
Yeah, I make a motion to appoint the following to the Board of Adjustment: Shannon Roberts, Ken Van Warden, Justin Pepper, and James Pacheco.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions? Nita?
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz.
Yes.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries to appoint Shanna Roberts, Ken Van Warden, Justin Pepper, and James Pacheco to the Board of Adjustment for 2 years.
Thank you.
Citizen comments, special presentations. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at this same meeting. Anybody? Margot?
Hi, I'm so glad to be back. Hello, everybody. Good to see all of you. What a joy to live in this city. I tell you, Christmas season was such a delight. Everywhere you drove, the lights, it was a joy to see. So thank you. Thank you. That it was just to come into town and voila, it just made my heart glad. So thank you for everything, and I'm going to try to be here again like I used to be. I got sort of out of sync and everything's working good, so you'll get to see me probably at every meeting, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. Anybody else? All right. Scheduled appearances. In order to be included on this portion of the agenda, please file the appropriate form with the city clerk no later than noon on Monday prior to the meeting. Parking issues on second block of Adams.
Good evening. My name is Patty Robertson. I want to address the parking issues that I have had since I bought my building. So I've written my comments and I'm just going to read it so I don't forget anything. So good evening, council members, and thank you for your time and allowing me to bring forward concerns that I have. I'm here this evening as a business owner in Monte Vista to discuss with you the problem on the second block of Adams Street with parking. As you all know, or some may know, I have recently purchased the former Farm Bureau Insurance Agency building and am converting it into a direct primary care clinic. I will be upfront and let you know that I am here this evening to discuss the parking issue and health and welfare issues. It is not my intent to target any one business owner. However, unfortunately, much of the problem does stem from one specific business owner. I will do my best to focus on the parking issue and the environmental issues I have noticed since moving into the building and starting my renovations. First, I understand that the parking along the second block of Adams Street is deemed public parking. However, it is not public storage for vehicles as it is currently being used. Since we started renovating my building, I've had significant issues with availability of parking in front of my building because of vehicles being parked there and left for days to weeks on end. I've had to call the Monte Vista Police Department 4 different times, with the latest being just this morning because of vehicles that have been parked there from anywhere from 3 days to up to a week. As of this morning, there was a Dodge pickup, and there are pictures that I'm showing that show how long this Dodge has been parked there. I've had to call on it twice, and it has been previously tagged and was left there for over 3 days. It was moved close to the 72-hour waiting time before towing was going to be enforced, and then returned and parked right in front of the building again. This waiting up until the 72-hour deadline is a trend with the custodian of the vehicles. I had notified the police regarding a white Suburban as well as the Dodge pickup being left in front of my building, blocking my contractors from having expedient access to the building. When the Suburban was finally moved, it was moved only 2 parking places and then left there again for several more days. The current parking code is vague and deems street parking as public parking. The current code has been weaponized by one business owner who is using it as the reason he feels free to park multiple vehicles in front of other businesses rather than parking in front of his own, thereby impeding the operation of the other businesses along the second block of Adams Street. Other businesses have had similar issues as I have. Danel Garcia has had access blocked to his building when a trailer with a car on it was parked in front of his garage bay door. It sat there for an entire weekend. When Danel had it towed, since the police were unable to identify who it belonged to, it was recovered by the custodian and then parked in the same place again for another 4 days. The owner of the building directly north of me has posted no parking signs in his window. While this is not enforceable, the owner felt compelled to take some action to prevent access to his building from being blocked. I will have a handicap parking space in front of my building as required by ADA guidelines. But while not all of my patients are handicapped, some are mobility impaired, and having to walk a block to get to my clinic because of vehicles stored in front of my building is unfair to them. There are several new businesses going into the second block of Adams Street, specifically myself and Jake Geppel, who owns tumbleweed breads are renovating our buildings and spending a significant amount of money to upgrade and revitalize our buildings. Additionally, our businesses will be bringing in a great amount of foot traffic to the downtown area. The fact that our customers and patients will be unable to park in front of our places of business because of vehicles being stored there is problematic. Additionally, we have a massage therapist and herbalist who is operating a business and a new restaurant that will be coming into the block. All of our businesses are being impeded by storage of vehicles for indeterminate amounts of time along the block. The fact that once a vehicle is deemed abandoned and tagged, we have to wait 72 hours before the vehicle can be removed is frustrating. And I didn't bring the code, but there's a code that says an inoperable vehicle cannot be stored on commercial property. An inoperable vehicle does include vehicles that are not currently registered. As of February 4th of this year, four of the 8 vehicles stored on Adams streets had expired tags. 2 had 2022 tags, 1 had a 2023 tag, and 1 had 2024 tags. And Fennell actually visualized those. The signage along Adams Street says there's to be no parking between the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. for snow plowing only. This statute has obviously been ignored by one particular business owner who is storing vehicles. I understand that people do need to park on the first block of Adams overnight who live in apartments above a place of business, and off-street parking is currently unavailable. However, that is not the case with the second block of Adams. The vehicles that are being parked and stored are run down and derelict, and having them parked up and down the second block does not make it welcoming for our patrons that will be coming into our businesses. From a health and welfare standpoint, I have walked down the alleyway behind my property. When you stand at the back of my lot, you could smell oil in the alleyway. There is a tote, and there was a picture of it, that has leaking oil behind the building. There is firewood that is piled very close to this oil container. There is an overturned oil collection pan in the middle of the alleyway, and there are derelict vehicles that are not registered, stored behind the buildings in the commercial district, which is in violation of section 12-17-110 of the city code. Additionally, there are trailers and campers that are stored in the downtown area on commercial property, again in violation of the code, as well as trash built up along the alley behind buildings. Often the alleyway is also blocked by vehicles parked in it, which then obstruct passage down the alleyway for emergency vehicles such as ambulances or fire trucks. As a healthcare provider, this is concerning to me. Several of us that are on the south end of Adams Street are committed to and focused on wellness and health within the community. The fact that these behaviors are going on and endangering the public with oil leaking into the groundwater is very problematic and is in fact an EPA violation. Of note, I had thought about notifying the EPA, and so I researched. Anybody that knows me knows I research. It's called the EPA, and found out that if I, as a private citizen or a business owner, report it, then the city can be fined for not taking action against it. So therefore, I did not want to risk that for the city that I serve as a healthcare provider, and I did not report it, and I don't want to report it because I don't want to bring a fine onto the city. My recommendation would be to put in place, or for your consideration, is to put in place city ordinance that prohibits overnight parking on the second block of Adams Street, since there are no apartments above businesses, and additionally limit parking to 2 or 3 hours between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. for access for those of us that have businesses that are operating between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. That's all I have. Any questions?
So council, we have been working on this, DJ with community development and planning and zoning, interim chief Tyler Hartford, Nita as the city clerk, and it's very complicated because our rules are pretty broad, and we understand that there was some sort of an agreement way back when the owner of this particular business was given special accommodations, in order to put his business in at that location. But we have taken pictures. We are doing a little better job of patrolling that area, and DJ has come up with a format that we will be, we don't want it to appear that we are just targeting one individual. When we went up and down the alleys between Jefferson and Adams, and then Adams and Washington and the alleys in between. We found other businesses that would be out of compliance. And so all of them are going to be given a letter with what they are out of compliance about and what needs to be cleaned up. We are relatively optimistic about some interviews that took place this week on a new code enforcer. And so by the time that code enforcer gets on board, these letters will have already gone out. These businesses will have a specific time in March when the stuff needs to be cleaned up and removed. And we'll be able to then start the process of notice, fines, eventually into municipal court if that's where it would lead to. And it is a problem. And our second block of Adams, as Ms. Robinson has stated, is growing. 2 new restaurants are actively remodeling their businesses, and so that's going to take up, we hope, lots of parking when people want to be there to eat. And we are trying to get this addressed. And I don't know if Chief Harford or DJ want to add anything to that.
I just have one thing. So typically in the past, we've only dealt with the business owners, which are at times tenants. So this time we're also going to address the business owner or the tenant, as well as the landowner. Because the landowner also, according to municipal code, is responsible for what their tenant does. So we expect to get slightly more compliance when the landowner is also putting pressure on the rental tenants, the businesses that are there to go ahead and take care of that property that they own. So we're hoping that we get more compliance through request. We actually don't want to use our code enforcement officer on it. We prefer that they pick up the trash, the weeds, all those things without having any code enforcement having to come visit them. Because at that point, it becomes an anger thing. This is, we're trying to be good neighbors to our businesses and help make that part of downtown. It's amazing to see it become vibrant, but we need to clean it up to make it so that it's a desirable place to go walk and eat.
As well as allowing additional parking spaces.
The other thing is, like, Ms. Robertson said, Mrs. Robertson said, what about the 2-hour parking thing too? Like, is there any way to, does that seem like a good idea at all? Or is there any 2-hour parking on that part of the street? Just for the business's sake, so that there's open parking spots? Is that
What
something-
would stop us from doing that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what does that take?
Has to be an enforcement. We have to have somebody that can,
Just
we would need a parking person to be able to enforce that.
Well,
But
that's
from our end of it, we just need to pass an ordinance, correct?
Yeah.
Would you write one up?
Yeah.
Okay,
I do think
Park-
Adams Street does definitely need 2-hour parking on it. I mean, those places, those parking spots need to get
Maybe
vacated
3.
and something in too. What?
maybe 3.
oh, great.
Well,
2 hours,
We can
45 minutes worth of park.
Well, at least some of the parking spots ought to be.
Yeah, like
designated
half of
with it.
them or something like that.
I can work on that ordinance, and what I would prefer to do is have a work session and I can work up like, hey, this is what the ordinance would look like. And then sit down and have a conversation, because it is challenging because we have apartments on the 2nd story. So do we then issue permits as the city that says this person can park longer because they reside there and there is no off-street parking available for their apartment?
Yeah.
Like, when Gigi said it's complicated, it really is. So I can do up an ordinance and I can with Gene, and we can figure out like, hey, here's what it would look like. And then walk through you guys of, hey, these are our questions and concerns, and see what you guys feel, or if any residents show up to that meeting to say what that looks like.
Well,
'Cause
you
they
know,
get-
even if you made half the code, or a
Yeah.
portion of them, limited time parking.
I think it's worth spitballing around anyway, just for the business owners on that street.
If that's the direction you guys would like to go, then I will work that up and we can work
Well,
through that.
yeah, we kind of want to take this as we don't want a sledgehammer. And so we want to make sure that we're looking at the full business district.
Sure.
And not just because of 1 or 2 businesses. I mean, we have another downtown business owner on Adams State Street that they use the back of their business as a place to sleep. And so, but, you know, we like that business person, so we're gonna be nice to that one, but we don't like this one, so we're gonna have a heavy hand. So we wanna make sure that whatever we come up with is really thoughtful and can be equitable and not just,
Well, it's not just the second block, in first block of Adams, it's a problem too.
right, but on the first block of Adams, that's where we have a lot of
Apartments.
apartments that are filled, and they don't have parking in the alley. And so their only option is to park on Adams Street.
I guess an
No.
upfront question on this too would be, do you want just the enforcement people working on this? In other words, than the admin people, or should we involve the planning commission in this type of thing? Is it, because I'm hearing it get a little bigger, all the way up and down the street, may involve just more than just this place that Hetty has here.
Let's start with an ordinance and then we can see where we go from there.
Okay. So we'll just get the enforcement people going on.
I think it's worth looking into anyway. We gotta figure out something for parking on Adams. Adams is terrible for parking.
Yes, it is. I live on Third.
Shh, you're out of order.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Gaveler.
So I guess we can write up that, look at that ordinance, and then we can come up with the time for a work session.
Yep.
All right. Building code update, Rio Grande Building Department, Randy Kern.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
My name is Randy Byrne. For those of you who don't know me, Rio Grande County Building Inspector. I also do the building permitting, building inspection, building plan review for the city of Monte Vista. I've been with Rio Grande County now. I'm going on my 21st year. In June will be 21 years. I've been working with the city of Monte Vista. We're going on our 20th year. That IGA was put in place in September of 2005. So I've been working with the city for nearly 20 years. We're on our 20th year. I was invited here by Gigi just to give you guys a little update on where we're at building code wise, what's shaking in the building world here. So over the last, this 20-year time frame I'm talking about, we've updated our building code twice. And really they were kind of, the thing that set that in motion both those times were bills that were passed by the state of Colorado into law. Beginning with HB 07-1146, that bill basically required that communities, cities and counties within Colorado with an adopted building code that were enforcing building codes had to adopt an energy conservation code. So prior to that, we didn't worry so much about energy conservation. It was just building code, life safety. That's, you know, that's what we worried about. And so now we've suddenly got to get into the energy code business. So that happened around 2008. That was our first update. We updated to the 2006 IBC IRC, which is the residential code, the mechanical code, and the 06 energy conservation code. And that's kind of where we stayed for right up until July 1 of 2023. There was another bill that came out in 2019. We didn't have to take any action on that, but that just basically stated if you had an energy code adopted, you actually had to enforce it. And if you made any changes to your building code, you had to update to one of the 3 most current versions of the energy code. For those that don't know, the I codes go in basically 3-year cycles. So, you know, it's a continually developing code process, but every 3 years, there's a newer version of those codes available for jurisdictions. In 2022, HB 22-1362 was put into place, and basically this was another mandate regarding energy conservation codes. And it gave us some options. One was adopt the 2015, 2018, or 2021 codes prior to July 1 of 2024, or if you waited until after that date, you had to adopt the 2021 IECC along with the state's model solar ready and electric ready codes that were at the time in development. So what that meant was do it prior to July 1 of 23, or else deal with, you know, every new single family homes at least roughed in for electric vehicles and for solar panels. Good, bad, or ugly, we just felt like that should be owner's choice, builder's choice, not mandated. And so this caused several jurisdictions across the valley, cities and counties, to come together. And we had assistance from Shums Coda Associates. They were funded through Excel Energy, who had grant funding available for communities in their territory. And basically what Shums Coda helped us with was code adoption, writing ordinances, resolutions, doing you know, amendments to the code. And the whole goal as a cohort group, we wanted to be able to support each other, do this as a group. We wanted to make it consistent across county lines, across, you know, you can work on both sides of the city limit and you can expect the same requirements. And so that was the biggest idea behind that. And so we moved forward, and all of these communities adopted the 2018 suite of I codes. Not all of them. You know, the IBC, IRC, existing building code, mechanical, and the 18 energy conservation code. The other thing that Shums Coda helped us with in this adoption process, because like for Rio Grande County and Monte Vista, we were moving from the 2006 energy conservation code to the 18, which was a pretty darn big step. And some of these other communities like Castilla County, Canes County, they were going from no building code at all adopted to the 18. So that it was even it is a bigger step for them. But we knew we didn't want to jump into the 21 that just every 3 years that just seems to get to be more and more. We were taking a big enough step, but along with all this, we developed a phased implementation plan. And this was specific to the Energy Conservation Code. The other I codes weren't really that impactful from the 06 to the 18. The one thing we amended out in our building code amendments on the residential building code was fire sprinklers in single family homes and duplexes. It's required in the code. We were able to amend that out. It stayed in there for townhouses, so that's going to be 3 or more, you know, row houses. Haven't seen too many of those in Monte. There's a few. So we made the effective date. I worked with DJ, you know, just speaking of the city, we're all set up. We started implementing that July 1 of 23. So we've been working with phase 1 for about 1.5 years now, a little over 1.5 years. And basically phase 1, we really just focused on the building's envelope, getting air sealing, water resistant barriers, air barriers, flashings, you know, things like that. Let's get the envelope tightened up. Let's focus on that. When we feel kind of like we're getting comfortable with that, we'll move on to phase 2. It was originally slated where phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 were 1 year apart. I made a little tweak last year. We were originally going to start phase 2 in July 1 of 2024, but we were in the middle of a crazy busy building season, and you know, I talked with some of the other communities, counties, and cities, and I'm like, I just don't think we're ready to do this right now. And you know, let's kick this down the road just a bit. And so we did. We made it July 1 of this year. So we are just beginning phase 2 of the implementation of the IECC. And so in this next phase, it's going to include everything that was required in phase 1. In addition, phase 2, in my opinion, is kind of the biggest step in this phasing deal. In phase 2, we're looking at whole house mechanical ventilation. We've got to ventilate these houses that we're tightening up, and that's the theory. Seal tight, insulate, and then ventilate it properly. So we have whole house mechanical ventilation. We'll be doing air leakage testing on the house just prior to occupancy or the completion. And basically what that is, if you've heard of the blower door test, you know, it's a third-party company with specialized equipment comes to the house. They put a big fan in one of the exterior doors, seal it off, and they test how many air changes per hour you're getting in the house. And the code says that it's a maximum of 3 air changes per hour. For phase 2, we're going to accept up to 5 air changes per hour. Reason being, we want to give people a chance to, you know, it's extremely difficult to air seal a home up when you're at the final. If you haven't done some of the things properly at the rough in stages and at the insulation stages, it's really hard to fix it at the final. So we're going to give some latitude there to, well, let's call this practice, right? I mean, up to 5, which is very achievable. I've had several cases where we've had homes tested where none of this was enforced or really checked on, and got pretty darn good results. So anyway, part of phase 2, if I get rambling too long, you can throw the hammer at me. Just sit down. So we're doing whole house mechanical ventilation. We're doing the testing. We're also going to be looking at the heating and cooling equipment in the house, ensuring or trying to ensure that it's sized correctly and the right equipment is chosen. And there are software programs that do that. And so in a nutshell, that's I haven't had anything in the city yet come in. We're just starting that phase 2. The final phase was slated to begin this summer, but I'm sure we're going to kick it at least the 6 months that we had before, but really not that impactful on the last phase. You're just, that air leakage goes from 5 to 3, and it's just kind of full force. So we're not implementing new code as we go along. We're just bringing in what's on the books in phases. I know people ask about cost. Well, the upfront cost is obviously more because, you know, now we're requiring continuous insulation. We're requiring this additional equipment. So upfront, definitely more cost, no question. The experts will tell you in the long run, you know, it's going to be a savings to the consumer in energy bills. We'll see. I'm hoping you guys have some questions.
Mechanical ventilation. We could put an attic fan in there and.
Whole house.
What kind of whole house mechanical ventilation?
Whole house mechanical ventilation exchanges air or brings in fresh air into the home. And exhausts the pollutants, basically. There's at least 3 different ventilation strategies for mechanical ventilation. There's exhaust only, which would be fans that just exhaust periodically, and you're relying on that air leakage for, you know, to replace the air. It basically puts the house in a negative pressure. So there's supply only. Supply is bringing it in and basically putting the building under a pressure. You have to really be able to feel the pressure as humans, but
like exterior doors and stuff will slam. at a certain point, like,
I will see, yeah. It-
same thing when there's a negative pressure, like when you go to close the door,
Yep.
it wants to stall.
Well, and
before
you
it
have to
hits.
be careful with negative pressure. If you had any natural draft gas appliances,
They'll start drawing it.
yeah, which
Same thing with.
anymore you
fireplaces.
don't even see, you can't hardly buy anymore. Everything's high efficiency, everything's direct vent. The third type is balanced, you know, that's the HRV, ERVs. Where it you know, it exhausts what it brings in, it keeps the pressure balanced, and it uses the warm air from the interior to help warm the cool air coming in from outside. They're pretty efficient. So that's in a nutshell where we're at. Fun fact, 2024, we did 74 building permits in the city of Monte Vista. And 14 of which were new single family homes. So that's really an uptick in Monte Vista. From over the 20 years I've been involved, I can remember when there was just very little construction in Monte Vista. Any other questions for me? You guys have been a great audience. I was hoping for more questions, because I tend to ramble.
I have a question for you,
Okay.
Randy. So Commissioner Glover may know Commissioner Tom Redmond out of Routt County. So he represents the town of Hayden, and he brought up today in a different meeting about a bill that's been introduced in order to get more mobile homes in communities as a solution for affordable housing. And with that, he was talking about, since they're in Hayden and Routt County is, of course, in Steamboat Springs, that these prefabbed homes are circumventing a lot of what you just talked about. And how can a community that has adopted these 2018 or 21 building codes allow a mobile home that doesn't address the pressure testing that you were just talking about? As an industry, have you guys heard anything about it, or are you?
Well, what I can tell
Opposing
you
or-
about manufactured housing is that there's two different types, really. There's more than two, but two basic. You have the HUD homes, which are built not to the local building codes that are adopted. They're built to federal standards. And they are regulated by the State Division of Housing. And they're built to an entirely different code. And from a community perspective, we can't turn away those HUD houses. If they meet all the requirements, we basically have to accept them. I think they can be zoned out of certain areas in the community. But in my world, if it's a HUD home, it's Colorado coded. Sure. You know, and no, they're not necessarily subject to all of this. The modulars are also built in a factory. They're also regulated by Division of Housing. Are allowed in this state, and they, in theory, meet these requirements, but they're not subject to the local inspection because they're pre-assembled in a factory and put together on site and certified by, you know, somebody who's certified by Division of Housing to do that.
They meet national codes, not necessarily rural or.
Well, the modulars in theory meet, you know, the same residential code I'm talking about. I brought these questions at training with folks from the Division of Housing, and I kind of get like not really a good answer. You know, you guys blower door those things in the factory? How you doing? No, you know. But not really in our control.
Count when it started in the factory, but.
Yeah, work there. You just gotta come down the road a few hundred miles. Good question. The other thing is, you know, the Division of Housing is regulating tiny homes now. They have a certification program for tiny homes. I'm talking the deals on the wheels. But the last time I checked, they had not certified a manufacturer yet. Nobody's certified to place them, you know, like the HUDs and the modulars. So I know in the county, we get a lot of them, but we treat them like any other recreational vehicle. You can park it where you can park an RV, but you can't live in it full time on residential property.
Well, thank you for being here tonight and thank you for, it's been kind of like a ruthless marathon of meetings in what, the last 18 months on all of this stuff and what rural communities need to do. And it's been, I feel a good relationship to have with Rio Grande County and having you take the brunt of all this. I sat in on a few of those meetings and then decided I was not a building inspector and it was way over my head, so.
Well, you're right. We've had countless meetings as a group and, you know, we had help, thank goodness. But yeah, it's a big undertaking for the community. And I'm really doing my very best to make it successful. You know, these things take time. That's why we're phased in. You can't expect instant results overnight. You just, that's how I look at it. I'm the one who implemented and created the building department in Rio Grande County and brought codes in. So I can tell you, I learned from experience, things don't happen overnight and you don't become an expert overnight. 21 years, I'm still not an expert. I learn something new every day. Anyway, I'll shut up, get off the soapbox. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sale of city property update.
Last time I have to talk tonight, I think. So Gigi asked me to come in and talk to you guys. At my last update, I talked about, or Davidson, you asked about the public meeting for the sale of our parcel of land that the city owns. And the reason why we pulled it. So the reason we pulled the public hearing was during the review of all of the things. We started looking at this in August of 23 was my first request that went out on making sure that we were meeting all of the state statutes, all of the home rule statutes. We had done all of our due diligence to make those things correct. And we went back multiple times to check on some things. During my last revision, I pulled the actual deeds for Sky High. And there is a 1919 deed, handwritten in cursive in 1919 English. I actually had to have my assistant type it out in normal English so I could read it. Not that I can't read cursive, but when you're looking at the southwest corner of township, I was losing it. So I went through and you guys have a copy of the piece that was rewritten. And on the second page, about a quarter of the way down, there is a section that, sorry, on the right way page, states that basically about 2/3 of Sky High would forever be held as a park. Obviously, over the course of the years since 1919, when that came into fruition, we have built upon that land, both Sky High itself, with the original building, with the pool and those kinds of things, and then we rebuilt the event center on it as well. So it says that it convey and confirm that said property, the second part, and successors, and assigns forever for park purposes. So before we got out into the public and said, hey, we're going to do this, I pulled it back so that way I could figure out what do I do now, because I had absolutely no idea. Thankfully, UNITA had worked through a different parcel with Mike Trujillo. In 2021, you guys did a quiet title to remove a deed restriction on another piece of property. And so reached out to Mr. Trujillo, and he has began the process to remove the required pieces from this title and do a quiet title to get it so that we can sell this parcel, as well as be kind of compliant, since we've already built buildings and done some other things which may or may not violate it. It just depends on how you look at Sky High. So We went through that part, so we began through this, it went to the litigation piece, which is complete. We went through Alpen title to get that part completed. It is now in the part where it will get published for the next 5 weeks in the newspaper. And the only people, as I understand it, unless I'm incorrect, that can contest it are either original signatories or their heirs. Obviously from 1919, the odds of having an original signator show up is very small. And during the research, Mr. Trujillo was unable to find any direct heirs for it. So we do not expect a contested filing with the court. So this process will take, give or take, around 90 days. And then we'll be able to move forward with the process and make sure that everything is legal and happy, and we shouldn't have any issues. And during this process, Unita and I have discussed, we're going to make sure that we review all of the deeds for the city. And that way we know where this exists and where it does not. So that we do not run into this again and we don't have any more issues like in this nature that we wouldn't come up with. He is going to do the entire Sky High tract, make sure that Public Works is set up correctly, make sure that the Sky High complex is set up correctly, and that the parcel for sale is set up correctly, so that all of those things will be removed. So that we are in good standing when we go to sell any of those properties or develop. So I have all of the supporting documentation if you guys care to see it. I did give you guys the deed already. And basically when we pulled it, I was going through and looking at the map. And if you guys have ever tried to pull like the southwest quarter or the southwest quarter of Township 39, section 32, range 8, like that, it took me a while for how to find that on a bloody map. And when I finally was able to figure out where the property was, that's when I identified that the deed was in fact part of Sky High, not another tract. So that's why I pulled it last time. And do you guys have any questions on that? No? Okay. So once we get it done, or as we go through the process, if there's any updates or any concerns that come up from Mr. Trujillo, then I will bring that to your guys' attention and we'll go from there. Thanks.
Thank you, DJ. Licenses, liquor renewals. City council conducts these actions in its capacity as a local licensing authority. We have the transfer of liquor, anything, did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Jack LLC, DBA Pivot Public House by Sand Dunes Recreation at 201 Jefferson, Carly and Donnie Batista.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Before you is the transfer of liquor license for Anthony Jack LLC, doing business as the Pivot Public House by Sand Dunes Recreation. This application was brought to me and I have brought it to you as a transfer. 3 years ago, council had given authority for city clerk to do transfers administratively, but I've always brought transfers to you as the liquor authority board to approve those transfers. This application is complete. In your packet, I only put in the application, but they have completed their map, and I think I included the map in your application as well. They have their individual histories, they have their tax check authorization, they have their commercial lease is completed, and their fingerprints have been completed and come back clean. They are wishing to ask for the transfer of title. If you approve it this evening, I will electronically transfer this to the state of Colorado, which takes anywhere from roughly 2 weeks to 30 days to get back. If you do approve it this evening, I would like permission to go ahead and give them a temporary license to open up tomorrow. And they are here if you have any questions. And just to let you know, they are taking over the entire footprint of the old Pivot House, which includes outside seating in the front as well. They are aware that if they want to do the patio outside, that they do have to do a modification. We did talk about that as well. you have any questions for myself or for the applicants?
Do we get to hear from them?
Yep.
Well, then anticipating that.
Oh, then we definitely have to do it now.
So hello, I'm Donnie Batista, and this is my wife Carly Batista. We own the Sand Dunes Recreation Hot Springs. We have a short term rental here in Monte Vista already. We do own a home in Monte Vista as well. And we're excited to be a part of this community. When it came to investing in a new business, I think it was a no-brainer to just kind of mosey on over into Monte Vista. Just as I heard, from the building commission that, properties being built are starting to grow. We're recognizing that and want to invest in this community. It's dear to us. My wife's mom actually had a business in downtown on Adam Street a long time ago. And some of the menu items that we're actually doing are paying tribute to her parents and that business, as well as the farm that they had here in the San Luis Valley as well. So we're excited, with your guys' blessing. I promise you, we're doing a good job. I've never had another job outside of the restaurant hotel management industry ever in my life. This is what I know, and we do it well, and we don't anticipate to let you down for sure.
So what are you gonna do different than what it was? If they might add?
We're just putting our spin on it. Obviously, they had their taste and we have ours. There's some similarities in the taste that we had for decor and the layout of the building. But when it comes to menu and drinks, as well as offering a non-alcoholic mocktail menu, believe it or not, there's a lot of money in that. And we want to make sure that everybody feels, welcome coming into our establishment. So we're excited to partner up with Monte Vista and come in, and can't wait to have a business here for Stampede and, all of the things that come with. I'll agree with how beautiful the Christmas decorations are in Monte Vista. And there's just several things that have attracted us to this area. So we're excited. We have a huge business with the pool, and one of our personal goals as a couple has always been to employ 100 people. And the Pivot Public House would get us really close to saying that we employ 100 individuals in the San Luis Valley. And so that's been a huge push for us.
Yep, and our chef, so I know a lot of you, we had the Rolling Blue Chip by Sand Dunes Red all through the valley, and she had a really, really fun time with that. But now she gets to have a full kitchen, and it's just the menu's expanded, and it's gonna be really fun. We're gonna have some good coffee as well, and the zero proof, just something for everyone, and just an awesome menu. And we've been working really hard on the decor, and it's gonna be a good spot.
Yeah.
Some really cool historical things from my family, and some good antiques, and everything's gonna be farm focused. But the DeForest did such a great job with that, and we're just building off of what they started, so.
Cause it was like one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think that you're gonna enjoy it still. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
What will your hours be?
Starting out, we're going to be open from 4 p.m. until 11 p.m. during the weekdays, and 4 p.m. to midnight on the weekends. And once we kind of build our foundation, get into some routines, we're going to open up that timeline. We'll look at starting, a brunch on Sundays, which is very exciting. And then we'll look at possibly getting into some lunch hours as well. But if anybody knows us, we don't bite off more than we can chew. We make sure that we are executing at a high level. And so until we know that we have our feet firmly underneath us, we're not going to make those changes until we're ready for them.
It will be a 21 and up. Unless we do the brunch, and that'll be a family friendly.
Yep.
But we'll continue the 21 and up. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the transfer of liquor, Aneth Jack LLC doing business as Pivot Public House by Sand Dunes Recreation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions? Nita?
Counselor Howard?
You're opening tomorrow, did you say?
We have to, yeah,
We've
we're
been
waiting for
waiting
this.
on this,
Me too.
in order to place orders, because not one liquor distributor will talk to us until we have this in hand, so.
And then our training officially begins on Saturday, so we have, what, a team of 16?
16.
So we're doing the training this whole
And
week.
we're gonna do 5 days worth of cooking and mocktailing, and it's exciting, it's coming
And
together.
there may be an open sign next week, but we're not announcing it, so.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind for the opening sign.
But in time for the Crane Festival.
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Counselor Howard?
Why, more questions on me now? They're tired of me.
You gotta vote?
You gotta vote.
Oh, you made a motion. Oh, you didn't make it. I made a motion, you didn't call the question.
He called the question.
See, well, I vote yes, but.
Counselor Watson?
Yes.
Counselor Renz?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Simmons?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the transfer of liquor license.
Thank you so much.
Here's your temporary, it will expire March 30th of 2025. But I fully anticipate you'll have your liquor license from the state prior to.
Yes, ma'am. If by chance our state license doesn't come in
I'll give you
time,
another time.
excellent. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Counselor, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
We look forward to seeing your faces in there too.
That's right.
It'll be great.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I have one other thing I wanted to announce. As of this morning, I did get an email from the Family Dollar Store. They are withdrawing their application for liquor license
Altogether.
altogether.
We were trying to get.
Resolutions. 2025-03, resolution approving the C-Dot grant for the Monte Vista Airport in the amount of $125,000 and allowing for the city manager to sign.
Good evening, council. In front of you tonight is a resolution from CDOT Aeronautics to do a project at our Monte Vista Airport that would include mastic for the cracks on the runway. Our cracks out at the runway are a little wider than what a typical crack seal can do. So us, along with our consultants, APG, we went to the state and asked if they would make a modification and allow us to do a mastic program out there on those cracks. It's kind of a liquefied asphalt, and it has some thicker material, so it's designed for wider and deeper cracks. And CDOT went ahead and they approved that, and they awarded us $125,000. So I'm gonna just read the resolution, so make sure we get the entire thing in record. And what I'm asking you to do is to approve us signing the contract, which is also in your packet, and allowing Gigi Mint as our city manager to go ahead and sign that contract. Resolution. Whereas the General Assembly of the State of Colorado declared in Title 43 of the Colorado Revised Statutes, Article 10, 1991, and CRS 43-10-101, the Act, that there exists a need to promote the safe operations and accessibility of general aviation in this state. That improvements to general aviation transportation facilities will promote diversified economic development across the state, and that accessibility to airport facilities for residents of this state is crucial in the event of a medical or other type of emergency. The Act created the Colorado Aeronautical Board, known as the Board, to establish policy and procedures for distribution of monies in the Aviation Fund, and created the Division of Aeronautics, known as the Division, to carry out the directives of the board, including technical and planning assistance to airports and the administration of the State Aviation System Grant Program. See CRS 4310-103 and CRS 4310-105 and CRS 4310-108.5 of the Act. Any eligible entity operating a public accessible airport in the state may file an application for and be recipient of a grant to be used solely for aviation purposes. The division is authorized to assist such airports as request assistance by means of a resolution passed by the applicant's duly authorized governing board, which understands that all funds shall be used exclusively for aviation purposes and that it will comply with all grant procedures, grant assurances, and shall be used, under and requirements as defined in the division's program and procedures manual, known as the manual, and the airport sponsor assurances for the Colorado discretionary aviation grant funding. Attached hereon is Exhibit C. Now therefore let it be resolved. The city of Monte Vista, as duly authorized governing body of the grant applicant, hereby formally requests assistance from the Colorado Aeronautical Board and the Division of Aeronautics in the form of a state aviation system grant. The city of Monte Vista states that such grant shall be used solely for aviation purposes as determined by the state and as generally described in the application. By signing this grant agreement, the applicant commits to keep open and accessible for public use, all grant funded facilities, improvements and services for their useful life as determined by the division and stated in the grant agreement and grant assurances. Further, let it be resolved that the city of Monte Vista hereby designates Robert Vance as the project director as described in the manual and authorizes the project director to act in all matters relating to the project proposed in the application in its behalf, including executions of the grant agreement and any amendments. Further, the city of Monte Vista has appropriated or will otherwise make available in a timely manner all funds, if any, that are required to be provided by the applicant under the terms and conditions of the grant agreement. And finally, the city of Monte Vista hereby accepts all guidelines, procedures, standards, and requirements described in the manual as applicable to the performance of the grant work and hereby approves the grant agreement submitted by the state, including all terms and conditions contained herein. Signed, Dale Becker, Mayor, or in this case, Mayor Pro Tem, and attested by Unita Vance, City Clerk. Does the board have any questions?
Could you read that again?
I hope not. That was a long one. I had enough trouble getting the first part out.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2025-03, approving the CDOT grant for Monte Vista Municipal Airport in the amount of $125,000 and allowing the city manager to sign.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any other questions?
Well, who's signing it? The mayor or city manager?
Actually, the resolution will be signed by the mayor, or in this case, the mayor pro tem. And then the actual contract, which you have a draft, will be signed by Gigi. So the contract is not developed yet completely. It has to go through the state controller before we receive it, but we have to approve the resolution first.
Any other questions? Rita?
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz.
Yes.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2025-03, resolution approving the CDOT grant for the city of Monte Vista Municipal Airport in the amount of $125,000 and allowing for the city manager to sign the contract.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
Contracts, agreements, and leases. Purchase of police vehicle, Interim Chief Hartford.
So yeah, right now we received a grant, it includes a new patrol vehicle fully outfitted. 6 updated in-car computers and 2 laptops. I have purchased the vehicle, requested reimbursement for that vehicle. I'm now working on upfitting the vehicle, getting the computers purchased and the 2 laptops purchased.
Awesome.
So what happened is there was a time crunch on this. And the 45,000 is above my approval level. And so we took it out and asked Mayor Becker if he would go ahead and sign it so we could go ahead and get the check off and that sort of thing. With the understanding we would bring it back to you guys to actually approve it. So if you approve it, we'll need to quickly stop it and send a vehicle.
We don't approve it.
If you don't approve it, but it is.
Yes, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, and so it is being paid for by a grant.
Yeah, why Dale's not here?
He's sick. Yeah.
Cutting checks left and right. It's like, I'll get it approved later.
Skip town.
All right, so do you want a motion on that then?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion for the purchase of the police vehicle interim chief. I screwed that up. What was the motion about?
Just to purchase.
The motion.
Just to purchase vehicle, right, for the
Yes.
grant? Okay,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to purchase vehicle.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We have any other questions? Nita?
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz,
Yes.
Counselor Watson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries to allow for the purchase of a police vehicle with the grant.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Two
HUTF,
more times.
You're gonna read the whole thing this time?
I'm hoping not. No, so in front of you is an annual item that we have to do each year, and this is from the Department of Transportation. And it is a certification of city mileage. It is, for those that don't know, it is how we obtain our HUTF funding, which it goes in our revenues. It basically is the gasoline tax that Colorado charges.
What does HUTF stand for?
Highway Users Tax Fund. So, we have, within the city limits, we have 7.49 miles of arterial streets, 22.008 miles of local streets, 29.498 total miles of HUT eligible streets, and 0.24 miles of non-HUTF eligible streets, which are maintained by others. And we have 0 miles of non-HUTF that are not maintained. So what I ask tonight is you to approve our mileage certification and authorize the mayor to go ahead and sign this document. It is a requirement to return it back to CDOT before we're allowed to get 2025 funding.
So moved. Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Nita?
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz,
Yes.
Counselor Watson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the HUTF funding.
Thank you.
Staff proposals. Reports and actions. City clerk?
Good evening again. So just a few things I wanted to report on. So right now, we are in the middle of our renewals for business license. We have most of them back. Sarah's been keeping track of them coming in, and we just sent out our second notices, and we gave them till the end of February to have their second, or to get their renewals in. If they don't get their renewals in by the end of February, then we will give them notice that their business license are void. So hopefully we'll get all the business license renewals in. And at that point, if business license aren't renewed, then the business, according to our code, they will have to come in front of council to do a show cause hearing of why we should reissue their business license. I have never had that happen before, so hopefully it won't happen this year. We currently have 36 cases so far this year for court. February 19th is our first court date for February, and we have 37 cases. So get ready. It's gonna be a long day. We currently have, or we had 231 cases in 2024, and we are already So in February of last year, we only had 12 cases in February of last year. So we're already way above that. So good job, guys. Good job. Facebook, I haven't ever reported on this and I don't know why, but Facebook wanted to give you an update that we have for the city of Monte Vista. So we have 4 different Facebook pages. We have the city of Monte Vista, we have the Monte Vista PD, and we have Recreation and Kids Connection. For the city of Monte Vista, we have 82,700 followers. For the Monte Vista PD.
Wait, 82,000 or 8,200?
82,000.
Wow.
That's like most of the valley.
No, it's like 2
No.
times the valley.
So I can
Yeah.
actually break it out and I can show that we actually have followers from Denver. We have followers from out of state. We have followers from Sterling. So I can actually break it out and it shows where our followers are from. For the Monte Vista PD, we have 129,000 followers. Recreation, we only and I'm not sure why Recreation and Kids Connection, I'm not sure if they just look at the city's post because I try to post on the city's website as well. Recreation is 1,800 and Kids Connection is only 700. But I'm thinking those are lower because I also post their things on the city's website. So, or the city's page. So I think that maybe they're looking at the city's page versus going to Recreation or Kids Connection. Recreation also has Rec Pro. So a lot of Recreation might be going to Rec Pro to view their site as well.
Is there any way to get the numbers for those websites?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can do that. That's not a problem. So if you go to the City of Monte Vista's website right now, you'll notice that it says under construction, and it's really not up to date on a lot of things. We've switched over to MuniBit, and I have recreated our website completely. That website is done. I just did a soft rollout to city manager and the department heads for review and comments. I've given them the deadline to have their comments back to me by the 13th. And I am going live with this website on March 1st. So we will have an up and running, fully operational website. It's user friendly. So at the next council meeting, I intend to bring it to you guys and show you what we have.
Thank you, Nita.
Without many followers, you might want to get into reality TV or something too.
What do you think this is?
It's not reality I want.
Council, last time you get to see me tonight, thankfully, huh? I wanted to do a staff report. I apologize for not having a formal staff report in your packets. I will do that for next month, but this month I wanted to kind of point out a few things. As always, Public Works remains busy. We have been trying to do our normal maintenance, such as repairing picnic tables and doing some of the other things, such as taking down the Christmas decorations. But we have been dealing with a lot of sewer plugs, some water leaks, and mostly during the day frozen meters, especially since our cold spell in January. On the frozen meters, I'm providing you with a spreadsheet that kind of shows the different addresses and what we've done since January 15th up to yesterday. What I want you to really concentrate on is the column that says times. You'll notice that there are addresses that have like 3 times or 5 times. those are the individual addresses that we have been on that site that many a times following their meter. They don't seem to learn from the first time, and in many cases, not the second time. So it's really getting to be frustration for the crews, for myself. It is costly. We do not at this time charge those individuals. We are looking at, as Nita has asked us to start looking at fees that possibly for next year and this year, putting in fees for us to go respond, because these are not necessarily during normal business hours. We can be called out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and the guys are spending several times at some of these addresses. So I just wanted you guys to have that information. Like I said, it is strictly from January 15th up to February 15th. On our water leaks, we've had several of our curb stops that have broke due to the cold weather, and we've had to fix those. We did have an actual main break here a while back over on 2nd and Dennis. Believe it or not, I'm still not sure how this happened, but the operating nut actually stripped and came out from the top. The guys went to shut off. We could not get a curb stop to shut down with a water leak, so we went to turn the valve at the main down, and as soon as they touched it and started to turn it, water came shooting out. Pushed the key out, and we found it. So we wound up having to do a very large repair over there at 2nd and Dennis. It was good. We did enlist our RMS Utilities to help us with that. They have bigger equipment than we do, and our equipment probably wouldn't get through the 3 foot of frost that we had in a timely manner. We did have one problem. The supplier sent some wrong parts and put us in a scrounge mode and luckily Del Norte and Alamosa had some of the parts that we needed that we were missing, so we were able to get the repair done. I went ahead and took the opportunity, since we were digging up that entire intersection, to go ahead and add 3 additional valves so we can better isolate the system if we have a future leak. And I plan to do that anytime we have to replace valves. I plan on doing that. My goal at a minimum is to hopefully get us down to worst case scenario, only 2 blocks on a water leak is necessary to be shut down. Ideally, I'd like to see 1 block, but we're a long ways from that. Right now, based on the valves that we have, we're shutting down an average of 11 blocks each time we have a water leak. Yeah, so. And then the last thing we have been doing a lot of, and this is more just the time frame during the year, is our sewer plugs. We've had an absolute rash of plugged sewers that has really pulled the street department, because the utilities are doing water leaks, but has pulled our street department over to start helping with some of these sewer plugs. It's more of an annual thing, but unfortunately, since COVID and the introduction of wet wipes, it has drastically increased. People assume because they say flushable on them, they do not necessarily degrade, and in these colder temperatures, they seem to get a habit of binding up on any deficiencies within the piping, and it just creates a plug that we are constantly going out and having to deal with. So other than that, most of the Christmas decorations, or all of them, should have been down by this afternoon. My boss made me do my first order for this next Christmas season. So those have been ordered, and we'll see how they come in. And hopefully you guys will be as happy with the new big one as people were with the one that we put out at the skate park. So looking forward to Christmas again. But other than that, I open up for any questions you might have.
How old was the valve? Yeah, something.
From the look of it, it looks like it was put in the early 60s. The numbers on them indicate a valve from 1962, 63. So it lived a good life. I just have never seen, actually, when the guys told me about it, what I assumed had happened was that these older valves, they have 2 bolts that hold the top seat on where the operating nut is, And I figured those corroded to the point when they put the wrench on it and gave it a turn, it just moved it enough that it broke. But I've never seen an operating nut actually come completely out, and it wasn't broken, it's intact. It's kind of funny, so. But anyways,
We got our money's worth out of it.
yeah.
Rob,
So, yes,
going back to the frozen meters, would you please remind council and the audience what our winter policy
Sure.
is and why we should not have a list like this?
so absolutely. So since I've been here, so almost 13 years, we've had in place where the city provides 15,000 gallons from December through March for people to run their water to prevent frozen meters. It is with your base charge. So during the summer months, you receive 5,000 gallons with your base charge. In those winter months that I talked about, we increased that to 15,000 gallons per month for the specific reason to run your water to prevent these frozen meters. We never know when we're gonna get a cold spell. This year was a little later than normal. It's usually middle of December through January. So it came in a little later, but it's really frustrating for us to have to go out to all of these addresses. And, it's understandable sometimes that one person, people will call, hey, we were gone through the weekend, we came back and our meters froze. Those we can accept. The ones that we go and we talk to them and say, hey, you need to run your water, and they turn their water on, and as soon as we turn our backs, they're shutting it back off. And they're calling us the next morning or later that evening because their water has refroze. So you'll see us going to the same house multiple times within a couple of days of each other. And it's really frustrating for the crews to be out there.
So what would it take to go in, especially on the one where you've been there 5 times, or even the ones you've been there 3 times, just to reposition the meter, sink it deeper?
The meter pits, depends on where they are, because a lot of them, the meter pits are kind of set for 5 feet, and the old style meter pits, you actually have to reach inside there to be able to access it. So the rule of thumb is it can't be any deeper than 28 inches, because that's about the maximum reach for a human being. And the way they're supposed to work is the geothermals from the ground are supposed to keep them from freezing. We've tried insulation, we've tried Paralite, and we've tried some other insulating factors, and none of them prevent this. So some of these homes that are on this list, the meter is actually in the home underneath, and they still freeze. And a lot of that is because if it's skirting, they don't have it where it's airtight. Same thing with the houses, the foundations are cracked and the air is getting in there and freezing them. So that is why across the board, we're offering the 15,000 gallons.
So in that case, would it be better just to put the meter outside, dig the pit, put the meter outside?
So anymore, what we're doing is we're using, we're speccing what's called a thermal coil. And it is a 5-foot bury meter housing that the meter is actually on a coil, and you pull it up out of the ground to work on it. And then when you get ready and you're done with it, it goes back down where it's about 4.5 feet deep. So under those circumstances, they should not freeze. We have not had an actual thermal coil meter freeze yet. So that is why it is spec'd for all new development. As we have money and time, we do replace some of the more ones that are more prone to freeze.
Yeah.
So, and citizens can do it, but the only bad thing, those meter pits are about $1,000 a piece. So, but for us, I mean, over the course of life, they're well worth $1,000.
So especially when we're gonna put in new meters everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, Jason, I think I'd struggle to be charging people for a meter that's out at the curb. If it's in your basement, it seems like you have some responsibility to protect that. I mean, the meter's owned by the city, right?
Yes. Yeah, the meter
So-
itself is owned by the city.
Depending on where it is, I think there's a issue there. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Have a good night.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rob.
Rob.
ED.
Hello. So just kind of some numbers to reflect on the court cases that you need to have. Our department is running smoothly. We have highly motivated officers. They've been out, running traffic, enforcing traffic violations. I think that's where some of the court numbers are coming from. Just this month, our total incidents, that includes traffic, contacts by law enforcement, calls for service. We've had 561 total incidents, which is a lot. However, the property crime, violent crime, our major stuff we have has decreased 51%, as compared to 2024. So I think that's great. We do have open positions. We did interviews this week for code enforcement to hopefully fill that position soon. We also have positions for police officer, which we hope to fill soon as well. We are going to be attending the local law enforcement academy, hopefully to recruit officers from there to fill some of these positions. So we're going to do that here in the next couple months. We talked about the patrol car grant. Besides that, we do have a grant. I don't know the date of the funding, but we will have funds this spring that will provide all officers with brand new pack set radios that we carry on our person. So that's coming. And then we also have a law enforcement workforce grant. It's recruitment and retention. It's been going on for 2 years, I believe. But that does end December 2025. That's for sign-on bonuses, recruitment, and stuff like that. But for the PD, that's about all I have. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you. IT.
Good evening, council. It's been a busy month. We had the ground running at the start of the year and just had yet to slow down. So we'll see how that pace keeps going. To start off with, we installed 3 new printers here in City Hall or just around at the other locations that we manage. We have 1 printer here in the clerk's office, 1 printer for Rob in his office, and then 1 over at Kids Connection. We replaced a dead desk phone that we assuming was killed either through a power outage or when our data stack went down, the PoE, which is power over Ethernet, surged and fried the device at the same time. That phone has been replaced and is back up in working order. We had a PC that's just been problematic since we've received it. We finally just ordered a new one and got that replaced. It has not had any issues since, and I am currently diagnosing the old system in my office. Our Engage system had a couple of issues with the locking. So I had to rebuild the PD gate, the PD squadron door, and our employee front entrance. Those are all working now from what I'm aware. There's been a little hiccups here and there, but no other issues that have been major. We had a mini split installed in IT. This is due to the HVAC that was installed, I think, a year or 2 years ago. It wouldn't work within our server room and would just shut off as soon as our server room would be turned on through the vents. So we had a mini split installed in our data room and in our server room. We have not had temperature issues since then. We had our systems for the year ordered. We have 3 desktops and 5 laptops to replace. They have all been inventoried and I'm working on customizations, hopefully starting to push those out by next week. We had a UPS for Kids Connection as they're rearranging their office and they just needed another battery backup for out there. And then for the PD, the Axon Body 4 body cams have came in and I should start doing those deployments either next week or the week after. Other than that, we are just doing continuous security fixes and just trying to keep caught up with everything that's going on. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Great, thank you.
You too. Thank you. And city manager. Looking for that sticky note.
Oh, we're off to a busy year, that's for sure. And I want to thank all my staff that's here tonight for what they're doing, because we're hitting the road and running hard. The something that we haven't talked very much about, and that's a grant that we got this last year through the Colorado Tourism Board called Destination Blueprint. And that was, or is, a technical grant where they're helping us to kind of define what it is in Monte Vista that we want to promote as far as then being potentially a destination. And those meetings have been going well. There was a meeting back in November that we invited public to come into. And from our RSVPs, it was about cut in half because that was the day after we got that 16 inches of snow. So it's mixed, it's made up of a group of people in the community that are just interested in tourism, as well as maybe have a little bit heavier marketing background. And so we're trying to put together a plan then that we can help the Chamber of Commerce put together a nice brochure that really talks about what Monte Vista is and what we have to offer. And so we still need to visit with the Rio Grande Tourism Board / the piece that fits right into Monte Vista and let them know what we're doing, because they're supposed to be the ones that are really the driving force behind this. It's not supposed to be necessarily city driven. It's more of a who's in our community taking a hold of this and moving forward. So we've been active in trying to help with that. The just because I like talking about Christmas lights. And everyone's brought it up today. Rob has ordered, I don't know, $21,000 worth of Christmas lights for this next year. And I've just about got all of that through donations. It's almost all fully raised. And the push to get it all ordered in January is because on some of this stuff, there was some sort of a sale. So we could save a little bit. And this next year, we're looking at a couple bigger pieces that showcase that won't take the public work guys as long to put up. So you're gonna see some.
She's over there dissing your crew now, Rob.
Well, it was really hard, getting that big snowstorm in the middle all the time. They're trying to get them up, and thanks to the rural electric, they came through again and helped put some of them up. And it's been a real community effort, and it's been very nice to hear the compliments that people are liking it. So I think that's what's driven the donation side to be easy or easier, because people see the results of what they're giving to. So it's been real fun. Judy and I met this week with Wall Smith and Bateman. They are our auditors. And at your next meeting, you'll see the letter of commitment for us to sign, but we're starting that process, and Judy will be pulling all those documents together, hopefully by the end of March. And we'll move forward with it. The Department of Local Affairs was in town this week doing what would you call it? The staff meets and does little mini reviews over the grants that have been submitted. And I think I included you guys on a letter I sent off to Senator Simpson and Representative Martinez. The legislature has gone in and swept out almost all of the money through the energy mineral impact. And what makes that so disappointing is that by statute, these funds are first collected through mineral extractions. So those companies that extract gas, coal, gold, molybdenum, they have to pay a tax into the state for that. And then by statute, those dollars are supposed to go first to the communities that are impacted by the extraction companies. And Monte Vista has been very successful, even though we don't score high as far as any extractions, but they like us. And so to see that amount of money get stripped out and place in order to balance the $1 billion shortfall that they're trying to come up with has been really disappointing. So I met with them one evening, and the DOLA staff, of course, has to be very supportive of the governor and what he wants accomplished through all of this. But then I can figure out ways to help rally troops and say, this is wrong, and we need that help. The maximum grant has been $1 million. This next go around, it won't be near that high. We only have about $6 million left to give out. And so it's rather disappointing, because we've been having 3 cycles of anywhere from 20 to 30 million given per year. And that has been drastically reduced. So I'm really glad that we put in for the multi-purpose building at the golf course in December, because that would not happen right now. Not at all. It would be a very low priority. This next week is the first, speaking of the golf committee, is our first contractors meeting, where, because if you remember from their proposal, a lot of the contractors are donating some of their time and product. And so we'll be meeting with them, because the biggest grant is in the city's name. And so we need to make sure that all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And so we'll be helping move that along. And then this week has been the annual Ag Conference. I was out there today, and the place is busy. It was really nice to see. And in the future, if we have a hotel potentially at that location, it's going to be a real home run for the community. This next week, the Daniels Fund, Bill Daniels, if any of you recall, was a billionaire that left this huge endowment. He made his money through the cable industry. And this will be the 4th year that I've been invited to help interview the scholarship applicants. And so that'll be one day this next week. And it's very rewarding to read and interview these young seniors and what they want to do and what their aspirations are. And one thing about the Daniels Fund is they are very supportive of kids that are very supportive of the United States, who are proud to be Americans and who want to be entrepreneurs and kind of go that route. So that's kind of what we do. Also met with Care and Share this week. They opened up a distribution center outside of Alamosa a couple of years ago. Care and Share is like the wholesale food provider for the food banks. And so they have a relationship with La Puente. Monte Vista Food Bank is under La Puente. So food that goes to Care and Share comes to Monte Vista as well, then to be given to those who need it. So they hold usually a yearly reception in order to just get to know more people. You all are invited if you can make it. It's February the 27th at 5 o'clock, 5 to 6:30, down at their distribution center, which is the old Budweiser plant in Alamosa. And finally, just because it kind of made me smile and see Tyler up here, they have a pepper ball launcher. So if you ever want to come shoot a couple pepper balls at our trash cans, it's a lot of fun for a short amount of time. So we can make arrangements if you'd like to do that. Pepper balls, like they emit pepper to break up crowds. And so these are about the size of gumballs.
Okay.
So you don't want to get real close because it could get in your eyes, but just
How many did you shoot?
when I shoot 6 or 8,
Excellent.
I did hit
She
the
a pretty good
building
shot?
once.
Wasn't bad. Nice.
And I'm really good if you just stand still.
I could see Gigi out there just going full out of.
Any questions?
Did they find out who stole the extension cords?
No.
No.
No, and I didn't figure we would. It was more of an outcry to the community that then we got the feedback we wanted. People were mad about it. So hopefully. We'll see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor committee, city commission and counselor reports. Anybody? Right. Getting warmer. Be happy
Yes,
about that.
Staying lighter.
Just wait.
Can't wait till next month, right? Get more daylight.
I know, but then all the work starts. You're working all.
All right, well, we're going to recess our meeting till the 20th of this month. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this time with us. Have a good evening.
That's always Victor, you run a tight ship.
How are you going? How is your vote coming?